Hi!
It's Nikki and Rachel here, and we're back with a little short series of tutorial videos for you, all about zips.
Zips!
I know that this can be the nemesis of a lot of us sewers, and they were for me for a while. I did go through a period where I hadn't sewn a single zip, and I got to the point where I couldn't make things without zips anymore, and I just had to get on with it and do it. So hopefully we're going to hold your hand and show you how to do. We're doing a lap zip, and we are doing a invisible zip.
Yes.
So,
which are the two zips that we use most
for
in
dressmaking.
Yes. And I think what's handy about knowing how to do both is that just because a pattern calls for an invisible zip doesn't mean you have to use an invisible zip.
No.
If you know that you've got a heavier fabric and it's going to do that annoying thing that invisible zips do, that on the centre seam where you're trying to do it up, it's too bulky and you have to get someone else to zip you up because you're scared you're going to break the zip because it's struggling to close, then switch it for a lap zip or something that's a little bit more stable.
Yeah.
And similarly, you know, if the pattern calls for a lap zip and you think, actually, I've only got invisible zips to hand and I'm just going to go ahead and do that, there's no reason why you can't use your own initiative when it comes to installing zips in your makes.
Make it your own.
Absolutely.
We've got lots of other skill builder videos coming up for you. We're going to be covering hems, and we're going to be covering pockets
and seam finishes
yes, and all of that kind of stuff. So we've got lots planned.
Yes.
But if there is anything in particular you guys want, then please comment below and we will see what we can do. I know some people have mentioned top stitching. That's something that's been mentioned a few times.
We've got a bag coming out that involves lots of top stitching, so that could be useful.
We're also making ginger jeans. There's a lot of top stitching in that.
Yes.
So we're not going to delay any longer. We're going in. Rachel's going to show you how to do an invisible zip. We hope you enjoy it.
Right, so now I'm going to show you how to do an invisible zip. These should be really quick and easy, so if they haven't been in the past, hopefully what we're going to show you now will make them easier. The first thing that you want to do is to prepare your zip opening. So what I like to do is to make sure I have put a strip of fusible interfacing on the area where the zip is going to go in. This will stabilise the whole area, and it means that regardless of the fabric you're using, whether it's flimsy, whether it's stretchy, that area will be nice and stable to work with. The next thing that I like to do is to mark my seam allowance. You will note that the bottom half of the opening is still open, so I haven't sewn the centre back seam, and I would recommend that for an invisible zip. It's so much easier if you leave the whole opening open and put the zip in before closing the rest of the seam. I've marked my 5/8 seam allowance. I've also marked my 5/8 seam allowance from the waist because this is where I want my zipper teeth to start, and I've also marked where I want my zip to stop, so I know that in between this section here is where I want to be sewing. Now obviously you'll need an invisible zip, and they're not all the same, so let me just show you what to look for. With an invisible zip, to get a good finish, what you want is a zip that has a proper twill tape running down the side like this one does. If it has a mesh, it has a tendency to stretch and move, and that makes the whole thing a lot harder. The other thing you want to look for is some proper chunky teeth. These teeth have twill tape behind them, and they're a good weight and size, which means that it's going to go in really nice and cleanly. If you're not sure and you can't see the teeth, then I often look for these diamond shaped pulls, because rather than the teardrop ones, they show me when I'm ordering online that it's a heavy duty invisible zip, and that just means that it's going to last longer, it's going to stand up to lots of wear and washing. The next thing you're going to need is an invisible zip foot. Now these are two different types of invisible zip foot. This is the one we used to use, and we don't use it anymore because this is our new favourite.
Yay!
It has two important differences. One is that it has a little ski on the front. That helps push the teeth out of the way and allows you to sew even closer but without sewing on the teeth. The other one is that the grooves underneath are deeper, which means they hug the teeth a lot better and give you much, much cleaner results. So with our preferred invisible zip of choice and our decent quality invisible zip and our opening marked and ready to go, I'm now going to show you how to insert your zip.
Excellent.
So an invisible zip, when it goes into your garment, will look like this. The teeth are not visible on the side that it's going to be sewn into your skirt. The pull is visible. The teeth are on the back. So before you put your zip in, you need to make sure that you have your two pieces that it's going into either side, and you have your zip in the middle with it the right way up. Then the best thing to do is open your zip, and then you want to turn your teeth out so that the teeth are on your line and the tape is in your seam allowance. Now you'll notice that the tape on this is narrower than the seam allowance, which is why I've marked that line, so I can make sure that I do set my zip in at the 5/8 mark, which is making sure that it's going to fit me properly. This mark here is to allow me to line up my zipper stop so that I am not taking the top off of the zip, and I'm preserving this stopper. With invisible zips, if you've got a zip that's too long, you should always have the top of the zip at the top of the skirt. Let the excess come below and you can trim that off later. So you want to make sure that the top of the zip is getting lined up with the top of the skirt. So turn it over, line it up with your markings, and then I'm just going to secure that in place with a couple of pins just to get me started. One right at the top and then one a couple of inches below. Now I'm at the machine ready to sew. I've popped my invisible foot on, and the first thing that I need to check is that my needle is in the middle position. You'll notice that you only have a small hole on an invisible zipper foot, and that means your needle needs to be in the central position to fit through the hole. You'll also notice you've got two channels running underneath the foot, and they're there for you to decide which side of the zip is best for you to sew. So I'm going to bring my zip, and the reason I've pinned this section here is so that I can start off by lining my zip up somewhere in there. It just gives me a flat area to work with. And because I want to sew on this side of the teeth, I'm going to be using the left opening for this half. And I just want to spend a few seconds just making sure that my teeth are rolled up and they're sitting nicely in the channel. Once that's in place, then I can slide it back as far as I can before I hit the pin to make sure that it's still on my line, but it's hugging the teeth nicely. So then I'm going to pop my needle down, and I do need to sew the zipper tape to the skirt all the way to the top. So I'm going to start with the reverse, taking me all the way to the top of the skirt, and that will secure the rest of the zipper tape. And once I'm at the start, then I can come forward, and as you can see, the ski is rolling those teeth out of the way, allowing me to stitch behind it. I don't need this pin anymore, because as I go, I can just line my teeth up with the line that I've drawn, my seam allowance line, and that is going to allow me to stitch in the right place all the way down. Just making sure that I'm looking for my stopping points as I go, so that when I get to that, I can just do a little reverse and cut my threads. So that's the first half on. First of all, you just need to do a quick check and close your zip and just make sure that it does close. If everything's gone well, then you shouldn't be able to see that half of your zipper tape anymore, or any of your teeth on that side of the zip. So it looks like it's gone great. So now I'm going to open it again so that I can go ahead and do the other side. Now, going back to our central position, I just need to make sure that I roll the teeth the same way so that it's symmetrical. So you can see it's created this V at the bottom there. That's what I'm looking for, to make sure that I've rolled the teeth the same way. If you were to roll them the wrong way and you created a twist, the benefit of having it still open at the bottom is that you could roll around your piece to get it the right way, but we're just going to do it the right way to start off with. Again, we're just going to make sure that the stopper is lined up with the mark there, and the teeth are lined up with the rest of the line, and we'll sew that in place. So now I'm ready to sew the other half of the zip. You'll notice the only thing that I've done differently is that the teeth are now in the right hand channel. So again, I'm going to slide it back as far as I can, and then reverse up to the end, and then come forward again, just making sure that my teeth are on my line. And reversing when I get to my mark. Then, most important bit is to make sure that your zip does up and that you can't see anything except your zipper pull.
Yay!
Now you need to do something about the rest of the seam, and the best way to do that is to bring the seam allowance together and stitch as far as you can with your normal foot, and then I'll show you how to do the little bit in between. So my zip's inserted and I've sewn the rest of the centre back seam, but you'll see that there's this patch here in between that isn't quite meeting, and that would be a hole at the bottom of your zip. So the best way to fix that is to pop on your zipper foot. The reason we use the zipper foot is it just allows you to get up behind this zip to be able to join them up. So let me make sure that the stitches are on the right, the needle's on the right side. And then I'm going to start on this line, and then I am just sewing as close as I can get to where my stitches end at the bottom of my zip. So that's now one continuous seam. And zip's inserted, the centre back is finished, there's no pinch or pucker at the bottom of the zip, and you can't see any of the zip except for the little pull.
Yay! Well done. You see, that wasn't too bad, was it?
No, not when you got the right gear.
And not when you got the right gear.
Right gear and all the ideas.
And a professional to show you how to do it. You can have Rachel by your side every time you do an invisible zip. That will be fun.
That's the whole point of YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see you next time. We will be doing lap zips.
See you soon, guys.
Bye.
Bye.